the first guy, which, Kevin, never happens in football. And then Mitchell Schwartz pointed out on Twitter that actually Breeland shoved him first. So point number one, Chase Claypool gets caught for being a goober, but it actually wasn't his fault. So he gets benched. Fast forward to the end of this game. Chase Claypool has had unbelievable catches since coming back from being benched, putting together an amazing performance. Then 4th and 1, the Steelers are driving with very little time left on the clock, less than a little over a minute, I believe. He gets a catch. He does the first down point stupidly because, it's a bad situational awareness. You're moving. You want to get the ball back. And it what should be like a couple seconds ends up being like over 10 seconds, which is extraordinarily costly. Everyone's angry with him after the game. Then another film surfaces of Eric Kendricks, veteran Vikings linebacker, swiping the football away from Chase Claypool in the mix of people and thus extending the play. So I say this not to absolve Chase Claypool, who is guilty of being a goober in both of these instances. I feel like goober is the perfect adjective. I thought long and hard before sharing that opinion.
Definitely goober.
However, there's definitely some nuance to this that was in real time.
I was going to say the same thing you were saying, which is it feels like Chase Claypool is a plant for the Steelers defense, like because they got bullied away. They got bullied around last night. Dalvin Cook had 5 15-yard runs on Thursday night. That's the most in one half by any running back of the last 20 years. Okay. That's what the Steelers defense doesn't want you to know. They want you to know that Chase Claypool is a goober. So I think that right now, you look at the AFC, there are 4 losses across the board. And that hasn't happened at this point in the season since 2002. This is a very strange year that should be a Steelers type of year with good coaching, decent quarterback play. You should get into competition, and the Steelers aren't going to do it because they're broken. Ben Roethlisberger has a $26 million cap hit. That's what happens when you come into a season and you have a quarterback who either doesn't want to be there or doesn't want to hasn't wanted to be there in a number of years, just playing out the clock, whatever it is. This is just not a team right now. It feels like it can win a game that matters, notwithstanding Lamar Jackson. That's a different issue. But this is just not a team that looks like it's up for it in 2021, and Chase Claypool is a distraction.
It feels like Chase Claypool, if anything, though, is like defying a very important stereotype of his people, which is to say that you don't really see a Canadian dude being this me first asshole type guy. But now, Mapletron, you are that guy. Congratulations. I will never consider the Canadian athlete as quite as meek as I did before watching how you did yourself and your teammates in the fourth quarter.
Wow. It really is incredible. I feel like every other industry outside of football has embraced Zoomer culture, and we bow down our Zoomer colleagues, but football is having none of it. Like this has been going on for a while with Chase Claypool doing TikToks, wanting music to be played at practice. Any other field, this is okay, but not in football. And I can't believe we're still talking about him after I said, why are we all talking about him? This is becoming the story of the game. It should not be the story of the game. He did 2 dumb things, basically. I missed a block on that. So that series, by the way, where he had the celebration, he also almost fumbled and missed a block. But, like, what the hell was that Steelers defense, Kevin? Like, I honestly, I've never seen anything like that.
What's strange about it is all the pieces from a stability standpoint are still there. Mike Tomlin is still there. Keith Butler is still there. Yes. Kevin Colbert is still the best general manager in football, in my opinion, in most years. Over the past decade, he has been. I don't know why they came into this season and had these problems that were so apparent. I understand they had to save money for TJ Watt. I understand we mentioned the Big Ben cap hit a second ago. Joe Hayden, I think, is making $16 million against cap this year. I understand there were limitations, but they needed to get physical. They needed to get tough. And at this point, the problem is on everybody. And I understand TJ Watt had the groin injury last night, but this was a disaster. Like this is the kind of thing where the franchise should be asking themselves a lot of questions they don't normally ask themselves in Pittsburgh.
I didn't think you could average 8.2 yards per rush before contact, but this card is telling me that that's what happened. It also feels like the Vikings would have been up. I think it was like, if you do the math, the accounting correctly, they would have been up like 51-0 in the third quarter if we also were sort of forgetting all of the other things that happened, like with Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, right? Like, this would have been even worse.
So to bring it back to the Vikings a second, Kevin, you are the author of maybe one of the most infamous tweets in sports history, which is. Can you give us an audio? Can you?
Yeah.
A dramatic reading of your tweet.
The tweet is.
We call it the tweet.
Yeah, the tweet.
The tweet, capital T, capital T.
The Seahawks have literally never played a normal game.
Question is this: is it time to pass that mantle to the Vikings?
Wow.
Well,
this
let me ask you.
This is a big moment.
No. Seahawks photos off, Alabaster. Jesus.
Mina, the problem, I reject the premise of the question. I do like the Seahawks photos, obviously, but I reject the premise of the question because the Seahawks are still playing very weird games. Some of their weirdest. You of all people should know this.
And they've got Davis Mills this weekend.
Mina is trying to get your curse lifted, Kevin. That's what's obviously happening here.
But what is happening with the Vikings? Help me understand this football team, because
they've played, I believe, two games that were decided by more than one score all year, right? That's where we are with this so far.
Okay, so Mina, I think part of the problem is that the Seahawks and the Vikings have sort of similar philosophies in some ways. They have a well-paid quarterback who needs to play well for them to win. They have a defense that is inconsistent, and they have a defensive head coach who really, really, really likes the running game. Maybe it's not just, the Vikings are the new Seahawks. Maybe it's that the Seahawks kind of think like the Vikings. That should scare you a little bit. Maybe that's why they play weird games.
What?
Defensive, conservative head coaches who don't want to make any aggressive decision-making.
But that's fair. But also, the Seahawks, at least prior to this season, had a quarterback who would put together incredible performances in prime time.
Sure.
The Vikings, highly paid quarterback, for some reason that escapes all analysis and coming into this game, you heard many people trying to point out that Kirk Cousins is having a good season, and this always happens with him. Always. He has good games when nobody watches, and then when people are watching, he turns into a pumpkin, and I don't understand what is happening with him. Is it performance anxiety? Is it primetime anxiety? Maybe you two gentlemen can help me understand this phenomenon.
I heard it. I actually heard it. Wait, Pablo. What just happened?
Kevin, we just got a. What are those? Is it Hims? What's the commercial? What's the podcast ad read for? I feel like there was a dysfunction. A performance anxiety context that Mina inserted into her alleged question from Objective Football.
I think we listen to different podcasts, Pablo. I've never heard that.
That might be micro-targeted. Yeah.
I
Roman.
Roman is the one. Roman. Yeah.
Yeah, that was not Hims. Hims is hair. It was a Roman. Yep. Hashtag ad.
Hims is a different male.
I really.
Yes.
Listen, not trying to imply that
neither
Kirk
of us
Cousins
clearly have.
Suffers from primetime impotence, but I do want to ask, do you think there's anything to it? Because this idea that this dude falls apart in big moments, it goes against everything I believe about analyzing football, which is we should actually look at matchups.
Let's get a Chiron, Mina. Let's get a Chiron. Mina Kimes, Kirk Cousins is a choker. Kevin, let's just say it. That's what she's dancing around.
I don't see it. I don't see it up on the screen. It's been 5 seconds, Pablo.
Alabaster.
Okay, so
can you do Right.
There's a couple things here. Number one, it's as simple, probably, is that Kirk Cousins can beat bad teams and not good teams, right? That's the most baseline, obvious thing, that he is the 16th best quarterback always, which means he can beat the 24th best team and can't beat the 8th, okay? Having said that, the one theory I heard about Kirk Cousins, which is really interesting to me, is he is one of the most emotional players that I think really, I don't think that we probably see it a lot. You see it in you like that sort of celebration. Remember how amped he got?
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like the thing I always heard was that the more he has to kind of sit around and think about things, the more amped up he gets. And I think maybe that was the one thing I've heard that might change a little bit. But I also think that maybe is just a little bit of a coincidence too. I just think that was the only explanation that made sense to me. And if you think about it and you think about the emotional release he has after a win, maybe it holds some water. Thank you. Thank you. There it is.
I really wish emotional release coming off of the extended metaphor earlier is not great.
You got us here. You got to sleep in the bed you made. You got us into these metaphors. And
it feels like we could get a Roman-sponsored segment out of this, by the way.
If I can actually add on to this with another accidental euphemism and talk about rocks here, doesn't Kirk Cousins literally have a tube of, like a clear plastic tube of rocks that he, I believe, takes rocks out of to display the passage of time in his life? I believe I read that he confronts his mortality every day at his doorstep using a tube of giant rocks. And maybe those rocks, as the saying goes, maybe they're just they're off, I guess.
The rocks are off?
Got it. He's not getting his rocks off. Okay. This is a man who famously said, "If I die, I die," about COVID. So
that's right.
We know that he has like a Drago mentality. I don't know how we got here. The point is, the Steelers defense, Kirk Cousins, handshake, both everyone's talking about Chase Claypool this morning.
How a tower of 720 stones helps Kirk Cousins confront his own mortality is a headline on ESPN.com.
720?
He is a no more than 4 foot tall
you didn't make it up.
Cube of stones that he uses to contemplate his mortality. So clearly,
can we get Kirk Cousins
if he
a
dies,
calendar?
he dies is...
I just use a calendar to mark the passage of time.
Yeah, like one of those little advent calendars where you move the mouse as you get closer to Christmas, but for death.
Like, when was the last time in human history we needed stones and rocks to tell time? When was that? A couple thousand years ago?
That's a great point. Let's move on.
All right, guys. That was something. Next topic. Who do you trust more? The 49ers or Bengals?
Oh, Lord. Why do we have to choose? You keep on making these questions where I have to choose to trust somebody. I know, but I don't want to trust either of them, Kevin. So who do you trust?
Well, I'm going to make a big proclamation here. I love Joe Burrow. I love the guy. I don't care that he has 14 interceptions. Despite it all, I don't care that he has 14 interceptions. Here's what else he has. He leads the NFL in touchdowns over 30 yards in the air, the most since Mahomes in 2019. They won the Super Bowl that year. He is a big throw guy. He's a boom and bust guy, but he has the capability to do things that a lot of other quarterbacks don't. I spent some time with him in August, and they told me that they want him to be in like literal Peyton Manning mode where he basically runs the offense. He's that kind of guy, and that's really going to happen for him. And so I think he has value kind of outside of what we see. Last week was weird. He had the pinky injury. By the way, Ben Babby had a great story on ESPN today about that. We need to start talking about Burrow as one of the toughest guys in football. Not only had the injury last year and came back from it and worked out, and he told me it was life or death for him every time he worked out in March. But Babby said that he would put on gloves on the sideline when he had the pinky injury, and his swelling was so much the gloves wouldn't even fit on the hand. That's what we're talking about here as far as Joe Burrow's toughness. But I think that
so you're saying if the glove does not fit, we must acquit, Kevin.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
right.
So I just think that both of these teams are okay. Both these teams will make a playoff push. The Bengals are in top 10 right now in points per drive against and for. The 49ers are obviously playing much, much better. There's some calls for Kyle Shanahan's job a couple weeks ago. That's not the case anymore. But I think as far as ceilings go, and I understand the 49ers have a better coach. The 49ers might, if everybody's healthy, have a better roster. But I believe in Joe Burrow in this equation. And over the course of 18 weeks, I believe in the Cincinnati Bengals more because of that.
Definitely have the better quarterback. I think for me, so I picked the Seahawks to win last week's game against the Niners once I heard that Deebo Samuel and Fred Warner, who I believe are the two most important players on their respective sides of the ball, were out. It looks like Fred Warner is going to play in this game. Deebo is questionable. And I simply do not believe in this 49ers offense without Deebo Samuel. Once they figured out how to integrate him into the run game, they became Kyle Shanahan's dream, confusing everyone at all times machine. Defensively, I'm with you on Burrow, Kevin. if Fred Warner is there, I think the biggest mismatch that Cincinnati has in this game is their wide receivers versus the Niners secondary. And it just comes down to whether Joe Burrow is healthy enough to get them the football. I mean, last week during the Chargers-Bengals game, after Burrow hurt his pinky pretty early in the game, it was every time they showed it, it looked different. At first, it was crooked. It was gloved. It was puffing. It was
started
bent
talking
in
at one
different
point.
direction. Started talking. And
started running.
He actually still continued to make some decent throws, but really bothering him all game. So I think we're going to know pretty early on how he looks throwing the football. I also want to toss out a theory that Pablo and I discussed yesterday, but I'd like to hear Kevin's thoughts on, which is for casual viewers, finger injuries are more upsetting than any other injury in football, even though there are many significantly worse things that happen. Because when we see them, we can imagine them happening to ourselves, just like slamming a car door on a finger or, getting a paper cut on your finger. I don't know. But my point is finger injuries are terrible.
It's a wonderful theory, and it's true. It's the only thing that we can see happening to us. As you said, we're not going to tear an ACL walking down the street. If we go to a soul cycle class, we're not going to tear our Achilles, hopefully. And I just think that the finger thing is just so obvious. Like, we would understand how that would hurt because we've bent our fingers back or whatever. There's so many stories, and you guys know this, of the retired defensive linemen who can't even pick change off a counter because their fingers are going in different directions. I mean, there are some gross fingers out there from retired NFL players and active NFL players. Like, it is one of the grossest genres. If you wanted to spend a day on it, is find 10, 50-year-old linemen and say, send me a photo of your fingers. You will not eat lunch that day.
WikiFinger is full of low ratings for NFL linemen who are retired and also former NBA centers.
Oh, okay.
But listen,
sorry.
Oh, wait, Mina, you're posturing your hand in a way that now I'm curious where you're going.
No, I just did this is like it's both a weird flex and the opposite of a flex, which is that once I did a commercial that has yet to air, and they had to have a hand model for close-ups on my hand, and they brought in the hand model whose hand looked nothing like my hand. And then once they saw my fingernails, which are very short because I bite them, I think everybody was horribly disgusted.
They had to hire a hand model because they deemed your hand not suitable to sell the product that you are about to.
I have tiny fingernails, and my in particular looks like a baby's. I don't know how
baby nail. Wait, further down.
Is.
Yep. Yeah, the wiki hand people are loving this. Incidentally.
Hey, Pablo, I just want to say that if you ever wanted to learn how to launder a humble brag, for instance, you can tell a story about doing a commercial, but then everyone was disgusted by your hands. That is actually the true definition of a humble brag, because I actually came away with a completely neutral value on that story. Like, I was like, oh, I'd like to be in a commercial. Oh, yeah, actually, I wouldn't want everyone to be disgusted by my hands. So, good job by you, Mina
well
Kimes.
done. The dismount, just straight tens from everybody. Yeah, it's just incredible. I like how I can't even make fun of you about this commercial because I feel like you'll get in trouble for saying what it is.
Yeah,
is that where we are with this?
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Actually, Joe Burrow is in it. Weirdly, I feel like
this is going to be the strangest. I can't even say the ads that I want to joke about that we referred to earlier because I feel like that would be problematic for you. Look how good a friend I am now. Look how good a friend I am now.
Are we on the Bengals? Because Kevin, you said you're on the Bengals.
Can I ask you guys a question? Because if I were to lean to the Niners on this, it would be because I outsourced my level of trust to like the algorithms, and all of them really do seem to like the Niners. So what am I to make of the fact that the numbers like the Niners in ways that human beings do not?
Well, first of all, the Niners more recently have been on a hot streak. The Bengals lost last week in a pretty weird game. I would say Mina was brought it up about the 49ers secondary and their depth. I think that's the key here because Joe Burrow puts teams in hell. He is modern football. he gets 5 guys out in a route, and vision is a superpower, and he makes it work. I asked him about that a couple weeks ago, and he said all he wants to do is just get as many bodies out there as possible and throw it to him. It's going to matter who the 4th cornerback is, or if Fred Warner can cover their 4th receiver or whatever it is. That's the most important thing. I think, Pablo, besides recent form, I think the Niners probably have better organizational stability. Like the Bengals never have much of that at all. But I don't, as far as the exact metrics, I'm not sure what they're favoring, except that Kyle Shanahan's a better coach, and there really are arguments for the 49ers.
They're more consistent. I think the Bengals have been an absolute roller coaster over the last 6 weeks.
So it's like blowout win, blowout loss, blowout win, blowout loss.
To weird losing in embarrassing ways, to weird teams.
They lost to the Jets.
Winning.
They lost to the Jets. We have not even mentioned that, Kevin.
Yeah.
Your precious Joe Burrow. Alabaster's been trying to say this, Mina, for the entire segment, that Joe Burrow leads the NFL in interceptions with, what is it now?
14.
Alabaster, 14, yes. So...
Yeah, but one of those, some of those are because he trusts his wide receivers. He threw a perfect go ball to Jamar Chase, who bobbled it into an interception. It should have been a touchdown. And that, to me, is the other kind of plot line I'm watching in this game. As I said, I think the biggest single matchup advantage in this game is the Cincinnati wide receiver group that I think is really impressive versus the Niners secondary. However, Jamar Chase has not been impressive as of late.
Not recently,
been winning at the catch point. So has had some drops and missed some, catchable balls. So I think Joe Burrow has found ways to lean on other weapons. T. Higgins has been unbelievable. Tyler Boyd underneath, but Jamar Chase, the way the Bengals are constructed, you got to choose between Jamar Chase and Higgins. And if one of them is sucking, then you got a shot in this thing. But if both are playing, to their abilities, which is that they're both super strong, super fast, super good at winning contested catches, the Bengals will probably win.
Agree.
Well, Alabaster, who are you taking in this game?
Oh, my God. Who cares? All right, next one.
Is
Ron Rivera right that it was a big mistake for Mike McCarthy and Mina Kimes to guarantee a Cowboys win?
So
there we go.
Predictions, Kevin, in this business, right? They're a funny thing. I feel like there are lots of people who make predictions all the time that never get held to account for them. It's kind of one of the secrets of this, right? You can just fire hose predictions and you'll probably be fine. The reason you can't do that in this context is because you'll be called out, both Mike McCarthy and Mina Kimes, by the same person, and that person is Stephen A. Smith. You don't get involved in a prediction war with the guy who's going to dress up as a cowboy and ride in on a horse to make you look stupid if, in fact, your prediction is wrong.
I saw a headline the other day that said, Stephen A. : Cowboys will choke because that's who they are. And I thought that is perfect content.
The GOAT.
Just smash that. Click. Okay, so Mike McCarthy. Let's put Mina aside for a second. By the way, Mina, you are a better coach than Mike McCarthy. I just want you to know that. If I could have anybody coaching my team on Sunday, if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I would choose you over Mike McCarthy. But I want to rip Mike McCarthy here for 1 second. Part of the job description in being a modern Cowboys coach is to be the anti-circus. Because Jerry Jones is going to go on the radio on Monday, and he's going to undermine you by giving out information that you don't want to have out there.
He loves the radio. He's so rich, Kevin. He still loves doing radio.
Weird.
He loves the radio.
So strange.
And there are things that are going to get out that don't get out in most NFL facilities. There's going to be a media circus no matter what. And your job as Cowboys coach, and Jason Garrett, for all his faults, did this to a T, is to make sure that you're as boring as possible, to make sure that there's no circus coming from your end. So when you guarantee a win against a team that's won 4 straight, when you yourselves are 3-5 over the last 8 weeks, that to me is adding to the circus. Don't give tent poles to have the circus tent. Don't help Jerry, okay? Don't bring the animals into the tent, okay? Try to shut the circus down. And that's your job, Mike McCarthy.
Mina, do you think he was inspired by your take? Do you think he was inspired by your take?
Because
you said this first,
So was it take theft? I hadn't thought about that.
He was watching you and he was like, you know what? She raises a really good point.
Well, when I saw his quote, Pablo, I thought that, much like myself, he had gotten baited into it, but he really didn't. It wasn't like he was asked, do you think you're going to win? To which, of course, he replied, yes. He offered it up pretty much unprompted. And I think Kevin put it really well, which is the problem isn't that Mike McCarthy gave Washington bulletin board material, and now they're really going to try to win, folks. The problem is that, you're already in, as you said, an environment with your owners saying wild stuff. You're giving the media headlines, and then your players will be asked about that, and that is annoying. It is a minor thing, but it is annoying. I made that prediction because I truly believe Dallas should win this game. I think that they match up well with Washington. I have been made nervous by what we've seen out of mostly the Dallas offense over the last few weeks. And throughout that streak of up and down performances, I have been giving them passes based on injuries. Oh, you're missing Amari Cooper, you're missing CeeDee Lamb, you're missing Tyron Smith. They were out of excuses, except for the fact that both their running backs are hurt. So maybe that's an excuse. But in any case, for the passing game, I feel like in this particular matchup, Dak Prescott, you should be able to throw the football on this team. I know Washington's defense has regressed back to being better than they were in the early part of the season when they were dumpster fire, but you have a full complement of weapons. Your offensive line is healthy. I think there is immense pressure on both Dak Prescott and Kellen Moore to at least approximate the aggressive, successful passing attack we saw earlier in the season.
So one aspect of how Mike McCarthy gave this prediction that presumably also is premised on the reasoning that Mina laid out here in part, the way he gave it, remember, he said it at the end of like a 24-minute disquisition. Like when Mina said it, she had a dramatic crescendo, right? Like there was, what was the phrase, Mina, that you delivered it? It was they should win. What was the, yes, here's it. Dallas can win. They should win. They will win. Roll this tape back if I'm wrong, which is, again, just Kevin, I don't know if you know this, but Stephen A is Mina's mentor now, and clearly you can see the resemblance here. She's getting too good at this. Mike McCarthy kind of spat this out at the end of a long rambling thing and didn't seem to get the juice out of it. And I feel like that is another strategic error on his part if he's going to go ahead and do this.
So Mike McCarthy should start restating his positions within sort of the comment. There's ways to do this. Mina also seemed like she talked herself into the take as she was saying it, right? You got firmer and firmer and firmer. I do that all the time. Yeah. Where you just you don't know what you're going to do. The whole Michael Scott, I start a sentence, so no, I'm going to finish it thing. You start a take and then you're just wait a second.
Among us.
I'm really nailing this take here. What if as the button on the take, I just guarantee whatever I've been saying for the past 30 seconds? I've been doing it for a long time. I admire Mina
veteran move
for talking herself into this take. I guarantee Mina has some great takes. That's all I know.
Kevin, I do want to ask you, do you think Dallas is going to win? You don't have to guarantee it, but I would like to get your thoughts on this matchup because this is a Dallas off. For the first 6 weeks or so of the season before Dak got hurt, I thought this was an unstoppable killing machine on offense. They could win a million different ways. The play calling was creative. Dak was playing out of his mind. Since then, it's been strained. And I don't know how much of that is Dak's injury. He's clearly not comfortable moving the way he used to move. He's not taking open rush lanes. Do you think that they can overcome that or at least go move back in the right direction in this matchup?
I do. I think Washington is a bit of smoke and mirrors, even though they've won 4 straight. I really like Taylor Heineke as sort of a plucky quarterback who's a stopgap. I think they're doing as well as they possibly can.
Plucky.
That's new. I've heard fun,
frisky,
feisty, frisky, scrappy. That is the first time I've heard plucky. Sorry, keep going.
He's a plucky quarterback. And I think that the Cowboys should be a much better team than them. And at some point, Mina, as you said, they can win and they should win. Mike McCarthy is correct in that regard. But let me tell you something. Randy Gregory playing is more important than anything, whether any guarantee. The fact that Tony Pollard has that injury is more important, and whether or not he's healthy to play on Sunday is more important than any guarantee. So there's some real tangible things here that I think are more important than what Mike McCarthy and Ron Rivera and Mina Kimes have said. Sorry, Mina. But I think that sort of just, I think the Cowboys should not only, the Cowboys are the only team from the NFC East that should compete for a Super Bowl championship. Okay. The football team is not on that wavelength. And the fact that they are right now competing for the NFC East championship in some way should be embarrassing for the Cowboys. They need to recognize that and start moving forward.
The heat was turning up.
No, I was going to say, we're so close to getting Kevin Clark :
I think
Embarrassed.
that the Cowboys have the talent to win the NFC East. I think that they have one hole, which is coaching, but they have the roster to overcome that. They can win on Sunday, and they will win on Sunday.
Yes!
Wow.
Wow! Can
Wow.
we keep the part where he said that it's embarrassing that
Yep.
Washington's in contention, and then finish it with the will win and cut it together for social? Thank you.
Alabaster, thank you. Please be on that.
Yeah, okay. We got you.
Got you. Pablo, do you have a guarantee?
Yeah. I guarantee that. Hold on. I got one. I guarantee that if Ryan Fitzpatrick were uninjured this season,
Oh, Lord.
the Washington football
Move
team
on.
would in fact
Stop
be
it.
a
I
team in
hate
the
this.
NFC East that could compete for a Super Bowl in this particular season. Absolutely.
Don't
go.
clip that for social.
We
He's
could have made our
very-
own guarantees heading into that particular segment that Pablo would mention that.
Yeah, I'm plucky like that.
All right, guys, it's time to play a game.
Let's do it.
That game is Whodunnit. We'll give you a quote. You guys come together, tell us Whodunnit. Our first quote. People like to take shots at me for no reason. It's funny because I never take shots at anyone. When you're the best in the world at something, people become insecure. And your choices are Rudy Gobert, Joel Embiid, LeBron, and Mina Kimes.
Oh, I mean, there is Mina energy in this. If we could have thrown in some sort of allusion to a commercial that had been filmed recently, it would have really completed the picture. But I do feel like if we're gonna do process of elimination here, who thinks they're the best in the world at something? Joel Embiid absolutely does.
Yep.
But does he get trashed in the way that this person clearly feels
I think he
insecure
does.
about?
I think he does.
Really? It feels like
I mean,
ARC to me. It feels like Rudy Gobert or LeBron.
I mean,
Now,
there is
LeBron
big-
is the one who's actually best
Wash
in the
King.
world.
Yes,
Yeah.
#Wash King.
I think the real question is here, would Rudy Gobert say he's the best in the world at something
Yes.
is a
Yes.
good caveat
Yes.
because he is the best in the world at, blocks
I
probably.
think
I don't know.
LeBron, but the problem is the at something, if LeBron said it would be basketball, which is a weird thing for him to say. Like, he thinks it, but it'd be a weird thing for him to say. I think it might be A.
Yeah, I'm going to go with A. Someone also called Rudy Gobert Rudy Gobert recently. Who was that, Alabaster? Didn't someone say that?
Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards, yes, called Rudy Gobert Rudy Gobert. So he's probably feeling in his mentions and his feelings as well.
People love to take shots at me for no reason. It's funny because I never take shots at anyone. When you're the best in the world at something, people become insecure.
Yeah.
Is
I
it
got to
true?
admit.
The,
What?
The other reason I knew it wasn't LeBron is because if LeBron had said that, I would have seen it on every single morning show.
Absolutely.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Absolutely.
So here's the Anthony Edwards quote. I'm going to assume he said Gobert and read it that way just based on what Pablo said. I don't get why we couldn't finish on Rudy Gobert. He don't put no fear in my heart. I don't know why. I love Anthony Edwards. He's just very funny.
Greatest quote in the NBA. And yeah, when your name accidentally is rhymed with Gogurt.
I was
Not
just thinking
generally.
about that.
Gogurt, I mean, were you guys Gogurt kids? Did you guys?
Yes.
So no, my mom wouldn't let us have them, and thus I wanted them. Anything my mom denied me of, I thought was the most delicious food. But in retrospect, disgusting.
So was there any
Kevin.
food was there any? Yes, I absolutely was. Was there any food that it turned out that your mom mistakenly didn't let you eat? Like, was there anything you had later in life where you were like, oh my god?
There is a thing that my mom would not let me eat that I now have in my house that is something that children eat, and I'll go get it. You guys continue.
I mean, what do we
Okay.
think this is, Kevin, while she goes searching? Because I have my money
I
on
don't know.
Lunchables right now, because Lunchables apparently are super, super unhealthy, but still
What?
to me, very enticing. Yeah,
Wait
it
a
turns
second.
out
Lunchables are unhealthy?
turns out a Capri Sun, a bunch of Ritz crackers, some clearly chemically preserved salami, and a
Yeah.
cookie is not a balanced meal. Oh, you maybe get a Three Musketeers mini in there. Yeah, not
Oreo?
FDA recommended.
Exactly
Yeah.
one Oreo? Just stuffed in there next to some. How is
Yes.
this cheese and ham being preserved?
It's not in the
What's going on
box because I am an adult and cereal in clear containers. but can you guys identify what this cereal is?
Oh, yes. Wait, are those
Cocoa
peanut butter
Puffs?
Cocoa Puffs?
Reese's Puffs.
The
Reese's
Reese's
Goat.
Puffs.
Yeah.
The goat.
Wow,
It
the
truly
peanut butter
is
version of the
candy.
Cocoa Puff.
It is the least nutritious food
What
probably
cereal?
in existence.
What cereal was in the Kimes house?
Oh, like gross cereal, like healthy cereal.
Fibrous
like
cereal.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Absolutely not Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Are you kidding me?
No alphabets.
we
No
didn't even have like cookies.
tricks.
Yeah. Anyways.
Wait,
So now I
why?
eat
What's
these-
the? What's
Yo,
the?
okay, we don't have to
why
get into
did
my
you?
upbringing, but can I say the most elite food on earth is the milk after you eat these? It
Oh, yeah.
truly,
I know exactly what
nothing
you
tops that. Oh,
I know exactly what
pour
Did
that
you
into your
remove? Did you remove the Reese's Puffs out of the box because you felt some lingering like residual shame?
mouth. No,
Or
they last.
do you
They
just have a
last
lot of
longer. No, they last
plastic
longer if you put them in a
containers?
plastic. It's an adult thing. Let's get the next question. You
Just
wouldn't
a def-
understand.
It's an adult
Sponsored
thing.
ad for
Also,
Tupperware.
rodent prevention. Open
Yes.
cereal boxes, bring in
Mm.
mice. Great
Yeah.
play in the Kimes household. All right,
I
next
did have
quote.
a lot of mice now that I think about it.
Hopefully, I can play here 20 years of my career. Will that happen? I don't know. And
Oh,
your
I know
choices
this
are
is-
Baker Mayfield, Giannis, Russell Wilson, or Joel Embiid.
Russell
All right,
wouldn't
Mina,
say it.
you have. Yeah. Mina, your initial burst of what felt like excitement, but may also be tinged with regret, leads me to think that this is, in fact, your boy. Is that where we are?
Yeah, Russell Wilson said he wanted to play in Seattle for 20 years. Unless
What?
I don't remember. Yeah, this was I think this week in response he
Why
was
would
asked
he
about
do
rumors
that?
about demanding a trade.
Because he's a liar.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Allegedly.
Thank you, Pablo.
That's wow. Yeah, so he did say he wants to stay in Seattle for a long time. Is that true? I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a crazy off season, and you can stop the ticking. I know it's right. I'm right.
Wait, do we have a video that can display how humanly he clearly
yeah,
delivered
I
this
want to
very
see
real
the
message?
tape here.
Hopefully I get to play here for 20 years of my career. Will that happen? I don't know.
Yeah.
What a weird delivery.
That's this. Okay, would you guys
I'm
like
buying
my
it.
genuine appraisal of this? It feels like a power move to me. I think a lot of the reports of dissatisfaction are true. I think what's dubious is how badly he wants to his way out, what conditions matter to him to stay. Russell Wilson obviously did not try to force his way out, a la Deshaun Watson earlier in the season after a whole off season of trade rumors.
Yes,
to me,
the 4
him
teams that he
saying-
said he wanted. Yeah,
Yeah, right. Or that were linked to him, right?
allegedly.
To me, him saying this is a power move. Basically saying, whatever I want, like I am open to staying. I really don't think he would say that if he wasn't. However, I think that openness might be conditional, perhaps on a split with the head coach, general manager, some changes in the style of how the team is run. I don't know. I don't know Russell Wilson. We haven't talked, but that's my interpretation of Russ speak, which is something I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to translate.
Russell Wilson doing the Machiavellian goober thing is a really interesting look for him. Just like he's got a smile on his face, he's looking around, he doesn't know what to do, and he's just trying to make a power move. Like this is some amazing stuff here.
Can we? I mean, this is by the way. Like, I get you guys love the NFL, and I understand all of it. The nuance. You can't blame anybody. You have to cite 50,000 variables. I get it. The clarity. I just long sometimes for the clarity of a disaffected NBA player.
Yes.
Just go James Harden, Russell
Or Aaron
Wilson.
Rodgers.
Or Aaron Rodgers at this point, right? Just like stop kind of vaguely rattling the saber and just say some
just
stuff,
say what
man.
you mean, say what you want. Yeah.
Like
But
this?
Pablo,
Okay.
Pablo, but if it's true, let's say my interpretation is correct and Russ is saying I will stay if there's a change in coaching in front office, or he can't say that. Like he can't say those words out loud.
So does he need a media member to more obviously act as the very thin very obvious degree of separation from his actual feelings? Or does he have that person and Mina is smiling because she knows who that is and I do not? Because it feels like that's the other move, right? Puppeteer a media member to say literally that. Russell Wilson is very concerned about the future of the Seahawks if Pete Carroll is still in charge. And by the way, I think that's a thing that would have, I don't know, popular support. Does it have popular support?
But enough about Dame Lillard. Let's move on to the next question.
Okay.
Just
Our
a
next
cold
quote.
sweat just ran down my back. Let's please move on.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys heard, but Michigan beat Ohio State, and we have this quote about it. When you take into consideration everybody kind of having the flu, of course, I don't make excuses, but it kind of does matter. And your choices are A, Chris Olave, B, CJ Stroud, C, Ryan Day, or D, Justin Fields.
It's Justin Fields here. You leave Justin Fields alone.
Is it possible it was Justin
As
Fields?
an alum.
Yeah. Kind of
Yeah,
feels like
I
this
guess
kind of
so. Yeah.
It kind of feels like the thing he'd be sort of riffing on a week after.
So is he the media member being used as the puppet by CJ Stroud is the question. Yes, perhaps.
CJ Stroud.
Also, how do you kind of have the flu these days?
It's also like the least sympathetic time, right? We just got through The Last Dance. Like, we're not here to listen to how you couldn't play through a flu.
The only thing better than the flu game is 30 flu games happening at once. Toughen up, Ohio State.
I mean,
is
it
this
can't be
something
Ryan
that-
Day.
That's what I was about to ask. Is this something coming on the heels of Mike McCarthy and the discussion around Mike McCarthy and coaches saying regrettable things? Do we actually think, like, does Ryan Day have a history of giving bad quotes? I don't think so.
I don't think so. So is it Heisman finalist CJ Stroud or A, Chris Olave? I feel like
I think it could be D, guys. I think it's a really weird
You think it could be
thing.
All right.
Fields?
All right.
Let's see. I truly don't know.
Alabaster. We're gonna circle D. Final answer, Justin Fields.
Everybody kind of having the flu and things like that. Of course, I don't make excuses, but you got to kind of take that into consideration. It kind of does matter. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
Did he have the flu? Did CJ Stroud have the flu in that game? I don't know.
Apparently, everybody kind of
had it.
Yeah,
So,
that is
like 80 people on a
humanity in
college
December.
roster.
We all kind of have the flu right now. Wow. Not me though. I'm traveling safely, just FYI, and have my booster.
Microchips just coursing through my veins.
True.
Absolutely.
Would not be doing all the things I'm doing, including commercials, if I had symptoms. We taped it in August. No big deal. Next question.
All right, guys.
Can we say who else is in this commercial or no?
No.
Because Mina already leaked
Stop
out.
talking. I
Joe
already
Burrow.
should have said. Stop it.
All right, guys. It's time for another game. And that game is What Are the Chances? And our first one. What are the chances Rutgers got lucky against number 1 Purdue?
All right. So here it is. There's 5 seconds left. End of the game. Purdue goes up by 1. And that, my friends, is Rutgers basketball. How dare you? How dare you besmirch the good name of Ron Harper Jr.?
Because, it's Ron Harper.
Ron Harper Jr. I mean, look, so I'll start here. 0%. Ron Harper Jr. like squared up to the basket to take that. And also Ron Harper Jr. is half Filipino. His mom is Filipino. So, I mean, a very clear 0.0 repeating percent from me.
He squared up and then kind of Dr. Peppered it into the rim. So I'm going to go 50%.
The Dr. Pepper thing is sad, right? Like, just the institution of the Dr. Pepper challenge is Hunger Games, but actually real. Yes.
It's but let's not besmirch Dr. Pepper if they want to sponsor this,
I
along
think
with Roman.
It's like 25%. Because the thing is, they were winning before Purdue's basket. And as Pablo said, he squared up like it was a shot. It wasn't a heave. It was an actual shot. Probably practiced it before. So I don't think it was all luck. I think if you run it back 100 times, you're looking at something like 20-25.
I mean, also watch like when the ball is moving down court. There's a guy for Rutgers, top left corner, who's waving, who's very open, and Ron Harper Jr. is like, "Nah, man, It's Ron Harper
Yeah.
Jr.
Just a
time.
deep 3. Steph makes those all the time.
On second viewing, the Dr. Pepper was a little bit strong. I only had like a little bit of Dr. Pepper in that.
I would say what is this? Alabaster, I can't even read this, man.
I'll read it. It's a tweet from Magic Johnson. It said, "Just watch Ron Harper Jr., the son of my friend, hit a buzzer beater for Rutgers to beat the #1 team in the country, Purdue, 70-68. He got the inbound pass at 3 seconds, dribbled past half court, and pulled up for the game-winning 3-point shot. Wow, wow, wow! Exclamation point! Mind blown emoji."
So you guys saw the story how Magic Johnson apparently just has a person following him around who is like transcribing things he says in real life.
Wasn't that revealed on this show, Alabaster?
Yes, it was.
Wow.
Like by Christine Williamson, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
I saw the clip.
Wow.
I have so many questions about that.
I mean, so did he say wow, 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 exclamation point is my question right now. Because Magic Johnson, I thought someone else was just making this stuff up, but if Magic Johnson is just very earnestly exclaiming things, I like that. Magic Johnson is the best at being rich, by the way, incidentally. Having a person do your tweets for you that you don't even have to dictate them to because they just write them down, that is A+ rich guy behavior.
Does he say like afterwards, like tweet that? I nailed it? Like, is he just like, man, Ron Harper, son of my friend, and then he just does it and just like tells the room, and then he just looks at the person and is like, that one, put that one down. Like, what's the process there? That's what I want to know.
Right. Is there artistic interpretation allowed?
Yeah. Alabaster,
by the
you were there. You heard the story. Tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't really clear. It seems like he sort of just says, "I got a tweet," and then says something, and it gets boiled down to the most obvious thing possible to tweet out.
How could he whittle down to that? What was like the original thing? Like, was he giving them a gamer? Like, this is a concise description of how it ended. Coupled with
Rutgers, New Jersey, M-. It was against the blue-gray sky. Blue-gray October sky. The 4 horsemen of Rutgers rode again.
Is there a theory here we can throw out that Magic Johnson's tweets could actually be the most amazing things in the world, and that he just has a really bad stenographer? Like he just brings the heat all the time, and just like gave an incredible anecdote about Ron Harper Sr. and then talked about Ron Harper Jr. for a while. Talked about the dynamics of the shot, the physics of the shot, and he just did 10 minutes. And then his stenographer was just like, nah, wow.
Like Magic Johnson is being neutered. Yeah, I love this theory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson, come on Debatable. We have questions for you and theories. Alabaster.
All right, we got another one here. What are the chances that 15-year-old Vladdy Miguel Cabrera is going to the show? We have a clip.
Hi. Is there music on this clip? What is this clip?
I feel like the Debatable staff chose a song that feels like a little too strip clubby.
Okay, so for our audio listeners, we are watching it appears to be the same highlight over and over of young Vladdy, 15-year-old Vladdy, just smashing baseballs into the upper deck. The clips are kind of confusing because they're shot from weird angles, and you're like not really seeing everything that's happening, which makes me a little suspicious. Kevin, am I being too paranoid?
Couldn't see the pitcher, strangely.
Yeah.
Like I came away from that more suspicious than I thought I would be.
I am highly suspicious also because is Vladimir Guerrero doing the George Foreman thing where all his kids are named after him? Because if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. already exists, he's an MVP candidate in Toronto for the Blue Jays. Yeah. Vladdy Miguel Guerrero is just a 15-year-old with the same name, but possibly a different middle name.
How many variations on Vladimir could you do though? Because it's a long name. So you've got a Junior, you've got a Vladdy, you could do a Vlad.
With a Y. Vladdy with a Y. Vladdy with 2 Ds, 1 D. Yep.
He actually has another 15-year-old son named Pablo.
No.
Is that true?
Yes.
Is that true?
And of course, is the one who doesn't excel in sports.
Yeah, the
unlike
unathletic
the other ones.
He's really good at live fake television shows, though. Yeah, Pablo Guerrero. Wow.
Is he? The question, what are the chances? I'm still going to say 80% because the genetics in that family are so strong.
Yeah.
As suspicious as I am of the video.
Whoa. I'm going to go 15%. Because I have just learned that Pablo Guerrero is also 15 years old and maybe a twin?
Well, yes.
Twin?
Biologically, well, unless they have different mom. Okay, this is getting weird. Yeah, I don't want to.
Yep. Getting a little weird.
Yep.
100% chance it gets weird. I'm gonna go 20%. I just didn't see. I'm gonna go with the family here and understand how good everybody is at baseball, but I didn't see anything that it's like a lot of times when you watch like high school football highlights, if there's a really close shot and you can't really see everything, that's more of a red flag than not. So that's kind of where I am on this right now.
Yeah, this felt like a blend of that and also that selfie LeBron took where his arm was definitely like out of frame, but definitely into the mirror, like that one. It felt like a little too on the nose.
All right.
Alabaster?
We got one more. What are the chances, and we have a clip for this, what are the chances that Babe Ruth could hit 200 in today's game?
So Babe Ruth, allegedly the greatest baseball player of all time, has appeared in a video that I assume has been recolorized by experts. And he looking
odd.
Looking like a scrub, not gonna lie, as I watch this for the first time. So
I'm gonna throw out
I apologize to the Babe Ruth estate, I guess, because that is the first video in color we've seen of Babe Ruth ever, and it looks like that.
Was somebody cooking the books? What am I a Babe Ruth truther now? Did any of this really happen?
It's hard with the back-to-back videos. I can only come away with the conclusion that Vladdy Guerrero Jr. is a better baseball player than Babe Ruth. Not working with a lot of visual evidence here, but here's the thing. Okay, so in football, one of the funniest that it's a funny bit is when somebody says, "Well, Bootsy McCollins would have took on Derrick Henry," and then people will put up a picture of a 1950s football player, and he looks like your accountant, and then they'll put up a picture of a modern football player. Baseball, I feel like we assume it's a little bit more on par because the sport, oh God, I'm going to make baseball people mad. It has, the athleticism now is significantly better, but I don't know how to get out of this one the way I've started. I don't think the disparity is as great as it is in football.
Mina, I believe what you meant to say is I believe Babe Ruth should hit 200 in today's game. I believe he will. No. I mean, this is a thing, Kevin, in every sport, I feel like. Because JJ Redick also said if he could play anybody from the NBA's top 75 list, he would play Dolph Schayes. So he could prove that JJ Redick, is also a top 75 player of all time. Like all of these younger modern dudes who are still alive are like, watch the tape. They look like this colorized version of Babe Ruth.
JJ Redick would have Dolph Schayes in hell.
Yes.
It would be so
Put him in a torture chamber.
So I feel like the shift would be really bad for Babe Ruth, probably. Heat maps, like analytics. Like Babe Ruth with a bunch of private equity types telling the pitchers where to pitch and stuff, I feel like that would be a problem for him. Like it would take him a while to figure out kind of how to do like video watching and stuff all the dorks do now. But,
I just want to fact check one thing. That's not the first colorized video of Babe Ruth. The Sandlot was. So just FYI.
Right. Of course.
Sandlot,
yes. Yeah. The Sandlot was a documentary.
And the John Goodman movie.
Can we all go 0% to create a very inflammatory screenshot, Alabaster?
Sure.
Zero.
Yeah.
Got him.
Yeah.
I think it's possible he might be like an Adam Dunn type and hit like 25 homers, but like hit.
I can see that. I can see
Dave
that.
Dave Kingman energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Didn't Babe Ruth like smoke a lot of cigars? And I can't imagine.
He was refused service at a bar because he rode a horse in. I remember that anecdote. He rode a horse into the bar, and they said, "You got to go, bud."
Wow.
So
Stephen A. of his time.
What?
Lee Martell.
That could be entirely made up, and I just believe
No,
it.
it's in the
because
Lee
I'm
Martell
delivering
That seems
it
very
so
fake.
about the Babe.
confidently.
I read a book about the Babe, and the one fact that you presented us was he rode a horse into a bar and got kicked out because of the horse.
Yeah, it's an awesome book.
The Babe Ruth estate is very mad at us. For hymns, Dr. Pepper, Romans. Mysterious company, Romans.
Roman manscaping.
This just looked like a Romans commercial, just the end of that confetti shot.
It's always a guy who's like with his dad.